Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon. How are we? Thanks for having us. Let's get started. Can everyone hear us? Let's do a mic test. Can we hear us? If you can hear us, just type in the chat box, please. Good. Okay, let's get started.
And you all can see the shared slides on your screen.
Can we see the shared slides on the screen? Maybe later.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All good. Thanks for having us. My name is Zach, and this is my colleague Ramneek.
Hello.
We are from Asia Pacific Group. We are a professional migration company, and we help with the migration admission across our seven offices.
7, yeah.
Yeah, 7 offices. Once again, I'm Zach. This is Ramneek. We are happy to give you some basic information on engineer and how do we get a skill assessment, and later on migration pathway. First, we have a disclaimer here. Today is the content of this webinar is for information purpose only. We try to make the information accurate, but we cannot tailor it for everyone in this session. So, which means that you can take it. You can take what we say, but we highly encourage you to come to us and get your personalized or customized advice. This is because every case is different and everyone is different, and everyone may want different things. We give you the information, but how to use this information is very, let's say, different. And we highly encourage you to come to us and arrange a one-on-one consultation. Let's get started.
Yeah.
So, objectives for this afternoon, we want to go through a few things. First, we want to give you a very basic good understanding of engineering occupations, and then tell you how to do the skill assessment, understand the Engineering Australia assessment process, and last but not least, we want you to understand how to get your PR pathway, how to use your engineering qualification to get a permanent residency in Australia. I assume that's what everyone wants. Let me get started with engineering occupation. So there are 4 different classes or levels of skill in the engineering. From the top, professional engineers, that's what we usually refer to as engineers. And then we have engineering technologists. And then after we have engineering associate. And last but not least, we have the engineering managers. So for each of the level, we have different qualification requirements and sometimes also work experience requirement. For example, for professional engineers, we need to have a degree hold for or graduate or bachelor degrees of 4 years training, and before you can call yourself an engineer. But for engineering technologists, degree holding 3 years or more, not majored in particular discipline. And then we have engineering associates. These sometimes we call them supporting person or draftsperson. And we need a diploma, advanced diploma, or some cases in degree in a science. Lastly, we have engineering managers. Usually we need a degree or plus 5 years experience or as engineer or 2 years as manager. 1 second. Yeah. So these are the occupations that can be assessed by Engineering Australia. As you can see, there are many engineering occupations. I think there are more than 30, mainly chemical engineer, material engineer, civil engineer. I won't go through the whole list, but if your qualification has engineer in the name, or you are working as somewhat related engineer, you might be able to find your occupation from this list. If you're not sure, once again, contact us. Just 1 second. Let's move to next. Your qualification is the main factor in choosing the right assessment pathways. So when determining how do you do the engineering skill assessment, we ask you to provide the following information, or you can review yourself. First is the country. Where were you trained, or where were you schooled for engineer, and the type of qualification, the level of study, how many years you studied, and whether it's accredited. What do you mean by accredited? Accredited engineer, as you may already know, engineers have quite a few, let's say, authorities or organizations. We have Australian qualified qualification, or there are a few accorded associations like Washington Accord, Dublin Accord, and Sydney Accord. So if your qualification is either accredited by Australian Engineering Australia, or if it's accorded by Washington Accord, Dublin Accord, or Sydney Accord, it's going to be a accredited qualification. Yes, and you can go through accredited pathway. If it's, however, it's not accredited, you have to go through the CDR pathway, which Ramneek will explain to you later. So first, for the accredited pathway, it's quite straightforward. Once you need to have, this is a checklist, by the way, you need to have a qualification, you need a degree and your transcripts, and then you need to provide you have adequate English skills, which is 6.0 in IELTS or 50 in PTE test. Or if you have studied in Australia in the last for 2 years, in the last 24 months, you can also meet the English requirement. In other words, if you finish your engineering study in Australia, you probably don't need to provide another English test. And you need your ID, your passport, and photograph, digital photograph. You need to have your resume, and you need to have a cover letter. And last, you need to prepare 1 or 2 months in the processing time. And the outcome will be based on the discipline of English engineering degree. All documents must be in a colored scanned manner and have at least 300 dpi. So it has to be colored scan of the original copy. It's quite straightforward, and if you want our assistance, to come to us. But as I said, if your qualification is accredited, all you need to do is prove that you finished the accredited qualification, and then identification and resume. That's it. However, and we provided the list of charges, fees for the assessment. This information is available online, and also it changes from time to time. So before you make a payment, do check what's the current charge. But for the CDR pathway, as we mentioned before, if your qualification came from a non-accredited study, you will have to do the CDR pathway. Ramneek here is the expert. He will introduce you how to do it and what you need.
Yeah, thank you for your. And my name is Ramneek Sharma, and now I will start discussing the CDR pathway. So first thing first, the good thing in CDR pathway is everybody is eligible. You know, accreditation pathway, you must have a course which is accredited, otherwise not. For CDR, every engineer qualified person is qualified or eligible. CDR pathway, what it is CDR? CDR Career Demonstration Report, a report which demonstrates your engineering career project, and it's a text file which is converted in PDF, obviously, and then submitted to the Engineer Australia. They will read it. They will check what you have written in that CDR. Is it qualifying your knowledge, skill, expertise, being an engineer or not? They will read that thing. So this report is like preparing a report first. One CDR consists around 1,500 to 2,000 words per report, and they would require 3 CDRs. The CDR can be based on your bachelor projects or work project. It's or. So if you don't have a work or employment, it's not like a mandatory. You can use your bachelor projects. Either you have done major project, minor project, industrial, seminars, lab, and 6 months employment, 2 months employment, exposure. So you can use these projects to base your CDR. That particular project is not going to be as a CDR. You have to write what you have did during those bachelor projects or work project. So 3 CDRs is required. It means 3 projects are required. So you can use either all 3 from the bachelors, 1 from bachelors, 2 from work, not work, all 3 must be then bachelors, obviously. CDR must be well written, well formatted, presented, understandable, technical, and focused, as they will assess your whole skill and qualification totally based on your CDR. So CDR is that kind of important stuff. It must be understandable, what it means. Normally in our bachelors, we learn journal principles, how things works. In CDR, they want to understand how you use your knowledge in practical life. So it's a different. So why it's well understandable. Engineering duties must be covered up in language that what and how you did it. For example, how a motor works, it's a separate thing. Why you use that kind of motor to build that kind of project? That's what they want to hear. CDR must be written in I language. I did this, I did that, I used that, I find out that, in that language. So normally from 2000 words, 1000 to 1100 words consist your scenarios. No journal descriptions and engineering principles definitions. They don't want to hear what is called, how things works, what's the formula, and what's the principles behind that technology. They want to know why you use that technology, how you did it, and how did you perform. Problem faced and solution provided. Obviously, when you do any project, especially the engineering one, it's a solutions to some problems. And while doing the project, you may also face problems. Highlighting those problems and providing a solution is the best tool to justify your skill as an engineer, and providing that in a CDR is what actually required. Objectives, duties well defined as per the format. I will show the sample of the formats in next slides, but for the journal summary. Objectives must be clearly written and upfront, and duties maybe 5 to 10, 6, 7, according to the project. You can highlight key duties you did in the CDR. Once the CDR is ready, you need to provide one CPD, continuation professional development. I will show what it is. And last, summary statement. Summary statement would have 16 elements upfront provided by the Engineer Australia itself. They want you to use those elements like math use and tool use, equipment use, reporting, supervising, task allocation. These kind of elements are there. I will show in next slide. So once the CDR is done, it means you have used that kind of elements which they want in summary statement. That's our role comes in. We will check your CDRs as per your work and advise you point by point where the element is fulfilling and where the element is missing. So that once the CDR is done, we are not in that position that our elements are missed. So in order to explain much better, let's go check how a CDR is formatted. Like I said, 2000 words distributed in number of formats. Introduction, 100 to 150 words. You will say what is going on and what comes next in the particular CDR. It may be, I have done that bachelor in that university, and during 8th semester, I did this major project in developing a road structure or a building structure or solving water pump. Introduction, a basic introduction. Objectives. What's your objectives? Solving an existing problem, building a new thing, using a software, simulating any structures, pressure, tension, according to the discipline. 2 main objectives. Then organization structure. Yeah, it is important. Organization structure is like a block diagram to show your position in the project. You must have some senior level. You must have some colleague or if you have a work, you must have some labor or technician or any below level persons involved in your project. This structure will represent your position as an engineer. You cannot say that you were at a technician level if you are wanting engineering occupation, right? And the same time, you could not say that you supervise something fully and you did not do anything. So position of yourself in a structure is very important. Duties, as I said, 5 to 10, 12, 16, it depends on project. Key duties, you formulated something, you designed, developed, you supervised, managed, reporting, these kind of duties, journal duties. So as you can see, refer ABS Professional Engineering website to check the most related duties. This is a hack. So Engineer Australia will check your duties according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Electrical engineer, they have already defined what an electrical engineer should do as an engineer, right? So in the CDR, you can highlight that duties, not copy paste, but that level of duties to show that in your CDR, in your project, you did the similar thing. I hope you understand that point. Main work, engineering work. Here the whole crux. Here you are defining the actual project from start to end. But how you started, you did some research, you made a plan, you lay out, then you collect items, raw materials, or went to your lab, college lab, executing, you start working in it. You are halfway down, you faced a problem, you are almost done, you faced a problem, you discussed in between with your lecturer, supervisor, or if you are working with your manager, general engineer. And down here, you can show the problems you faced and solution you provided. So, and show one or two tables. What table means? Table means real data. If you have done something in real, there may be some real data available. Specification. If you have civil engineer, you may are aware the concrete you used, or if you are electrical engineer, you may be aware about particular motor you have used. If you are a chemical engineer, you may have aware about that chemical properties of, I can say, of that material. So it must be real. It's not be hypothetical. So that's what table means, showing that real specification, real data, real technical figures. Very important in red, highlight couple of problems. In between, at and, it depends how you are formatting your CDR. In the last summary, maybe 200, 300 words, clearly showing what you learned, and at the end, what were the advantages, and have you achieved your project or not. It's not like that you pass that project. It's like what you did. So there is no stress in fulfilling that project as successful. The stress is to provide your efforts, to provide your engineering work there. So this is the format of the CDR. Okay, so before going to the CPD, I believe you now understand how a CDR, which is going to be checked by Engineer Australia, and they require 3 of this, right? So if you say in the introduction, you did a project during bachelor, right? In the bachelor, there's a mark sheet. In the mark sheet, there are subjects, you passed it. So it must matches that particular subject. If you say introduction, you work, so there must be some document, right? So it cannot be hypothetically total. Once the CDR is there, you need to provide a CPD. It's only a 1-page document. They want to learn, apart from your bachelor's, apart from your projects, how being an engineer, you involved yourself in making yourself a professional person, like CAD training, industrial training, volunteer. Coming back to the CPD, it's 1-page table. They want to know, apart from your bachelor projects, what you extra did. You may utilize your CAD training, any industrial certification, any participation in an engineering level competition, something like that. These are some examples of the CPD. For example, if I can change on-job training, yeah, training, that kind of BSCPD, year, where you did it, and which country. CPD is done. That is not a big deal. CDR is summary statement, 16 elements. As I said, this sample has 3 elements, you can see. So they have already defined 16 like this below, and they want you to use these elements in your project in CDR, but default by project. For example, let's see this one. Comprehensive theory-based understanding of the underpinning natural and physical science and engineering fundamentals. It's a very general wording, but yeah, what they mean, they want to check, have you used your theory-based comprehensive, like in the start of CDR, you are writing, you did some research, right? You may have studied that subject 1 semester before. And based on that theory, you are doing the practical, you are doing this project. So you can highlight in this box that, yes, according to that subject or that book or that semester, I used this principle on my project, and project name actually here. And in this one, you can highlight that paragraph where you have shown from this paragraph, right? Where you have shown this element. For example, CDR 1 paragraph 3, you showed some theory which you use for the project. So you will write that paragraph, CDR 1.3, CDR 2, CDR 2.4, CDR 3, CDR 3.5, right? So in all 3 CDRs, you have used this element somewhere in any paragraph. Second element, mathematical use. Third element, understanding specialist body of knowledge within the engineering discipline. Specialist body, right? If you are civil, you are aware that there are standards of the road ministry department. There may be some specification as per international level, particularly in electrical. So understanding that specialist body defines, you know that something has a specification under any authority, country, body, board, something like that. Yeah. So summary statement is that kind of stuff. So it means once the CDR is done, then only you can add the paragraph numbers where these elements are highlighted. CDR pathway, yeah. So this is the checklist. So let me just summarize the CDR pathway again. Now come back to this point. Now you visualize CDR 1500 to 2000 words per report, 3 CDRs, written, well formatted, focused, technical, duties, I language, problem faced, CPD summary. That's the CDR crux here. So once the CDR work is there, you in the checklist, you must provide same qualification, you need degree, transcript, English, passport, photo, resume, updated one. It means, for example, you may have studied in 2016 somewhere, right? And then you employed for 1 year, and then you not employed in engineering work or something else, or studied MBA or something else, right? It doesn't mean you don't write that in the resume. They will check the updated ones because of continuation. Because eventually in the PR, you are going to the department, and at that time you highlight that you have some experience in 2022. But in the resume you submitted to the Engineer Australia, you have not highlighted there. So why they require updated one? They want everything must be written until today. Doesn't matter it relates to engineering or not. So that's what updated means here. In the CDR pathway, the waiting time is little more as compared to accreditation because of CDR checking. If you choose fast track, 1 to 2 months. If you do normal track, it may be happen 1 to 2 months, but I think it may take 2 to 3 months as well. Apart from these documents, 3 CDRs required, 1 CPD, 1 summary. If CDR is based on employment, then there is an additional requirement of having employment work letter, or you can reference letter, joining letter, resignation letter, any kind of document to prove that yes, you actually did employment, because of CDR is based on the work employment. You could not use hypothetically that I did work there, I don't have a document. They will not consider it. They will believe that it's not a realistic work. All document must be colored 300 dpi. Based on your CDRs, you choose your discipline and they give you the outcome according to it. if you choose your discipline civil, you wrote your CDR as a civil draft person, they may give you an opportunity to change the outcome, or they can deny it as well. So it's very crucial you choose a discipline based on your CDR, and there may be no chance or half of the chance to get an updated outcome in existing application. So yeah, PCs are high from Engineer Australia for the CDR pathway, plus if you have an employment relevant skill assessed. So for the CDR only, it's 935 somewhere. Additional services, fast track. Either you choose accredited or CDR, you have an opportunity to pay $357 more for a fast track option. Fast track option is a good option though. They give the outcome within 2 or 3 weeks, depending how much loaded they are. And what else? Now the PR pathway. So before going to the PR, so yep, we have understand it so far. Engineering occupations, they are professional associate managers. They are very good occupations. So most of them are in MLTs, most of them.
Yes.
Assessment process, the different pathways, their eligibilities, their fees and response time. Now we will jump to the PR pathway. So before starting with the PR pathway, I just want highlight, we just highlighted here, assessment approved, right? What it means the pathway begins even when you start the assessment, but the PR, permanent pathway, person must have assessment approved. Then the pathway, this pathway, the data here is started from this onwards, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Meaning the skill assessment is a required a component before you can actually lodge for PR or even lodge for expressive interest.
Yeah.
They want to see, okay, you have nominated an occupation and have a skill assessment outcome to support you. So you need to start from skill assessment, which we just covered,
right.
CDR pathway or credit qualification pathway. And then now you have a skill assessment certificate, and you're very excited, and we're here to help you to get your permanent residency.
Permanent residency.
Yes.
So as you can see, the pathway for the engineering occupation, particularly in today's topic, we have point-based visas, 189, 190, 491, employer-sponsored visas, regional sponsored visas. Before coming to the point system, which Mr. Jack will explain much better, this 186 employer-sponsored and 494 assessment is important. Even you are working, you have an employer, and I have heard many times that I am working, I have an employer, but to check here, assessment is a must in these two visa subclass. So why we started from the assessment itself. Even you are looking for employer type visas, assessment is must there. And Mr. Jack will explain about this point system and this.
Yes, please. Just 1 second. So there are 2 main pathways for engineers to get permanent residency: a skill visa, so point-based visa, and employment visa. But if you want to claim your skill and say I want to be sponsored by the state government, and I have an excellent work experience, English skills, and I'm in the right age, you may prefer the skilled visa pathway. Why? Because it's usually quicker and much cheaper as well, and it has less moving parts overall. So it's much easier to reduce the risk, let's say. For this visa to work, you need to meet a few things. First, you remember it's a point-based visa, so you need to accumulate enough points and as high as possible. And second, of course, we need a skill assessment. Third thing, you need an invitation from one of the authorities, either federal government or state government or regional government. How to get this invitation? You need to submit an EOI, expression of interest, and sometimes you also need a ROI, that's the state government register of interest. Yeah. Yeah. For different visa, you need to have different minimum points. For 189 visa, at least you have to have 65 points. However, for some occupations, which we will visit later, you may have to have even higher points before you can be invited. For state government level, you need to have 60 points. And with these 60 points, state government may impose some additional requirements. For example, in Victoria, they look at your salary, your annual salary, and also your occupation. And they decide, well, okay, you are more beneficial to Victoria than others, and we invite you. They do this one individual case assessment. And for the 491 visa, it's a regional visa, so you need to be committed to a regional area for the next 3 years. And regional area is defined by the postcode, by the way. It's well, let's put it simple, it's outside the metropolitan area. And in the context of Victoria, it's usually the areas which are not covered by metro trains. There are exceptions all the way, but as a general rule, if you are not covered by metro trains, you are most likely in the regional area. And even if you are covered by metro trains, there are some train stations still in the regional area definition. And once you have the invitation, you can use that invitation to apply for the visa. But before the invitation, there are a few things. For example, we have to calculate how many points you have, and also decide the invitation points. And it's kind of a running system, dynamic system. So we do encourage you to come to us and have an individual review, because I have no idea. I have very little idea of how many points will be required in the next 3 months or in the next 6 months. But I have data in the last year. We know how many points you will require, which can be a very good guideline for you. Let me just jump to the next page and give you some examples of the invitation points before we hand the floor back to Ramneek for employment visas. So for example, you can look in the last year, agriculture engineer requires 90 points instead of 65. It means that the demand was quite low, and department is only inviting a handful, very few selected engineers, agriculture engineers, and which means that they won't consider anyone with 85 points or 80 points. Only with 90 points can be invited. There are some lower ones like civil engineering technician. They only require the minimum points because according to the department data, they are asking, the demand is very high, so they are trying to recruit as many as possible. No matter if you are inside Australia or outside Australia, if you have 65 points, they will send you an invitation. There are some very strange examples, like we discussed last time. Civil engineer requires 85 points. And on the other hand, civil engineering draft person only requires 65 points. People don't think it's fair.
And adding here, as we're speaking about the civil engineer and civil engineer draft person, maybe you guys have a question. I have done BTech in civil. Why can't I choose civil engineer draft person
Exactly.
as a assessment, right?
Yeah.
And as you can see, in the previous slides, draft person comes in engineering associates. BTech civil 4-year comes in professional occupation. So using your degree, it's not possible to claim a draft person occupation. You getting my point? Because they are checking the level of skills, right? And keeping in the point system, we are thinking that we can ask for draft person, we can provide the projects and reports, but being a degree holder, the competency level in our skill is already going to the higher level, unless we have a good amount of experience as a draft person to show that maybe 2 or 3 years, to show that even I have a degree back and then I expose myself in a draft person role in the CDR pathway, it has chance. Otherwise, it's very hard or near to impossible. You can choose draft person if you are a degree holder. Or you do a diploma of draft person, accredited, bypassing the CDR pathway, then it is possible, right?
Yes. Yeah. Overqualification is the real thing.
Yes. Being a degree holder, using a CDR pathway, is not easy to have a draft person.
Yes.
Yeah, and most of the occupations, are 80, 85 in December 2022 round. December 2022, 189 onshore. Most of the engineers are 80, 80, 85, 85, 85 points, right? For 190, it's possible, right?
Yes, it's also possible. The state government will consider your profile. In the context of Victorian government, they look at three things, three main elements: your occupation, your annual salary, and your points. They will look at your profile and decide how beneficial are you to Victorian government, to Victoria as a society as well. So they will issue invitations. So it's definitely possible, and you should definitely register your interest if you are currently working in Victoria.
Yeah, I remember in January round, 65 points
Yes.
telecommunication,
Yes.
65 point mechanical engineer,
Mhm.
and 65 on their own only, you know.
Yes.
5 point from state, they have 60.
Yes, 60 points is enough.
Invited in 190.
190 from Victoria.
So that's the data for the point systems, and this is that. Yep.
Just one more thing. As you can see, a lot of engineers are suffering from being required additional points. If you ask me, my personal opinion is this may go better this financial year, because last financial year we are suffering from post-pandemic labor shortage, and department focused a lot spend a lot of focus on the labor workers. That's why their understanding is we need more drafts person than actual engineers. But we are gradually going back to let's say normal, and in a normal context, the department will put more focus on the actual engineers because they are more skilled workers, and in the past they are always being preferred in the migration market. So I don't think the last year's situation will continue forever.
So guys, if you have any question, yep, you can ask, unmute yourself, you can ask directly.
Yeah, just type your question in the chat box, or maybe you can just unmute yourself and ask your questions here on the floor. If you have any employment opportunity, for example, if you are engaged in any employer who's saying, okay, you are very good, we want to keep you in the company, and they are bringing up things like sponsorship, do come to us. Trust me, employment visa is more complicated than skilled visa, so we prefer discuss this individually. For example, we need to talk to the employer, see how big their operation is, how many people they are hiring, how much they are paying for each employee, to make sure that the employer is eligible to sponsor you for a visa. So it's a much longer conversation, which also involves a lot of private information. We don't prefer discussing here, but as a basic information, you still need a skill assessment for the most of the better ones of the skill visas, employment visas. But you also need 3 years of work experience and be sponsored by your employer. That's a very short version of the employment visa. But
yeah,
if you have,
so why this?
Yeah, can't go any shorter than this. But if you have any opportunity, just contact us. We can do a free consultation and guide you through this pathway. We have a question here.
What if the bachelor degree is not recognized under any accord, but master degree is recognized under Washington Accord degree? Should I do CDR? Master degree is recognized in Washington Accord. If it is in engineering discipline, obviously no CDR is required. You have a master, it qualifies for the accreditation pathway.
So you can use the accredited pathway.
Yeah, but I think Washington Accord have bachelors mostly. You need to check. It's PUME. Right?
You have to make sure it is a Washington accredited qualification.
Yeah, we will cross check that for you, but the answer, particularly for this line, is no CDR is required. However, to consider your master in Washington Accord, you need to cross check with your qualification. So contact us, share your information, then the answer would be precise. If I am doing,
Okay.
thank
I
you.
have a question.
Yeah.
So currently I'm studying Master of Engineering. So I will finish within 2 to 3 months.
You are studying
So
here in Australia?
yeah, study in Australia.
Right. So you had that question, master degree in Washington Accord, right?
Actually, I think not. My bachelor degree,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, so your master would come under Australian qualification, not under Washington Accord. So
Yeah.
if you are studying here master, we need to check the different accord, not the Washington one. Engineer.
Yeah, I'm doing Master of Engineering Management for Engineers,
Yeah, which university?
Central Queensland.
Central Queensland, right. So for you, but we will check it for you, you can use engineering accredited program list, Google it. It has a list of university and qualification listed there. If you found your Master of Engineering Management or Engineering, what you said, from your university listed there, no CDR is required.
Okay. So my question is that my wife is also there, that she had experience with 1.5 years. So also she had a 4 years bachelor degree in IT. So she can give me 10 points, right? For the PR pathways, like she can do the IELTS or something, PTE, then she can give the 5 points, and she can give the after she got the skill assessment also, right?
You said must bachelor's of IT.
Yeah.
And experience in?
2 years around.
Experience as a?
Sorry?
What's her occupation?
Occupation software engineer, software development.
Yeah.
Should be fine.
Yeah, the body would be ACS.
ACS, yeah.
Not Engineer Australia.
She's if it's a software engineer, she needs to seek skill assessment from Australian Computer Society instead of Engineering Australia.
My question is that she will get that 10 points, right?
Providing that she passed the skill assessment, yes. How old is she?
29.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so she must pass from the ACS. So ACS would require major in bachelor's plus experience.
1 year experience. Sorry, I missed that.
Overseas experience.
Overseas experience, then needs
3
2 years.
3 years.
3 years experience, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So currently she is finding. You guys didn't have any recruitment agency, like you are not doing recruitment, right?
Not
Or
that
we don't.
one. Yeah. But share your wife resume, updated one,
Okay.
and yours, so that we can lay out a plan, including the assessment plus your accredited pathway structure, right?
Okay, sure.
I have,
We will send you.
yes, I have. However, I have written that engineer accredited programs. If you can Google it, you can find that list and check your masters.
Okay, thank you.
If I am doing PhD here in Australia, what would be the pathway after PhD completion? Okay, pathway. Pathway would be the same. Point-based assessment, 189, 190 point system. PhD can give you extra points. PhD can qualify you for the assessment in a discipline. So the pathway would be the same. The difference would be your occupation and your point system. So it's FASA. FASA, we need to know the qualification you are doing, your masters, which you did, and the points you have. So pathway is the same. The only difference is what you are using to be assessed. Is it masters, qualifying, bachelor's, or your PhD? And if it is related to engineers or not, because today webinar is as per the engineer. So if you could hear us, maybe, okay, then we can check for you. I think that 2 questions. Anything else? All good?
All good then. Okay, we are going to end this session, but do come to us and contact us for consultations. Once again, the information here is for general purpose, and we do encourage you to contact us for consultations. Do I have any other questions?
No.
No.
This one chat.
Thanks. All right. Thanks for having us. Have a good evening. We are also Asia Pacific Group. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.